Yeah, we hired, put a piece of plywood over it. We got one, but it was. Yeah, but some that would cover the whole damn piece. What's up, Carmen? Haven't even looked.
There you go. I need all the help you can get today.
I can do.
They've been
it.
working in the park and stuff. I don't know. They don't.
What have they done? Shit. Oh. Holes in the park with little tiny piece of plywood and.
Oh, you're
Peter,
about this whole city. When they've been working on.
Yeah, but this. No, I know. I found today
Patient. That's it. Yeah.
Very true, isn't it? Don't start no more.
Zoom, yeah.
Agree. It's good information, but if the dates are wrong,
Yeah, I was trying to get in touch with Tara Marshall.
You doing this evening?
Good, are you?
God,
Should have had some rest for the 4th of July.
that was a good time to work. Get along. I,
Is Tara running the show? 5 o'clock deal?
that's what I understand.
Yeah, Miss Davis had just called her, so I don't know if she hasn't heard from her.
She coming here, or she can be on Zoom?
Yeah,
Oh, she's trying to get all of her.
yeah.
Really?
Mhm. Mhm.
And
You don't answer?
one number on there.
Been trying,
God, I hope something didn't happen.
yeah, I called her at 2 and she hasn't called me back, so it just goes to voice message. So I'm not sure, and she's not on, no. So I guess apologize.
Well. And I'm sure it's not her fault. I don't,
Yeah, she's
something bad didn't happen, but.
usually really good about.
Yeah.
I talked to her last Tuesday. About it.
Real or anything? So maybe we'll wait about 10 minutes, and if she's not here, we'll just kind of recess until we start at 6.
Yeah, that's all we can do.
Yeah. But we haven't heard back from Bonnie yet.
I didn't have anything as of
Yeah.
noon today.
Oh, not on that, on the Snowy River.
Nope, I haven't heard it back.
No, yeah, we haven't heard. back.
Oh, you haven't,
Yeah.
okay, sorry.
Yeah.
One track mind there.
I'm just letting you know.
So you saw that email that I sent them just to Ferris.
Yes, yes. Oh, on the Energy Bank.
Those years, I think, are technically settled.
Okay.
So the CPA wanted to just work from 2024.
Okay.
Only thing that's currently in arrears. The funds, so. That's probably when they realized they wanted to recharacterize the arrangement.
Okay.
Do it on the moving. I hadn't looked at the older version in a while.
Yeah, I just.
I realized that the red line was not the current. Still want the door open? Still want the door open while the train goes by? Pass in a few minutes.
Need to fix the air conditioner or something. Could be. Lost fall apart.
Yeah, they're gonna run the full gamut tonight.
Check out into the wires and get up to an office. If it is hard. Finished. We have last. Lots of issues, you know. It's about 5, 6 years. What's the water been? The lights. Yeah. We won't. Park. Oh. I told you that. Oh.
Hey, Donald.
Oh.
What's that?
How's that? Could be, we could have.
Oh.
Yeah, I could have ate another plate.
Right.
Something.
Your home big weekend. I'm on the. But I know when I went to this, the one is with your niece. Oh, yes. Huh? So, part of it. Training. You ever graduate from all the training? Oh, get work. I'll plan. That's what I was gonna say. We are. What? Mm. Yeah. Well, that'll be the next one.
Call it. Mayor?
Hmm?
I think at this juncture, it's fair to say that fortunately, it doesn't appear that Ms. Marshall is going to make it this evening. You would like to take a break? We can reconvene at 6.
We'll adjourn till 6 o'clock.
Do we have to vote on it? We never called it in
No.
session.
You don't have to vote.
All right, everybody's on their own till 6.
Sorry.
People will get on and say, where is it?
Yeah. Yeah, we can leave it on.
I like what we're doing.
Can you turn off, can you turn the
Microphone?
mics off, please?
Yeah.
thought I was gonna have to do that, but then, I know, because I had called in. And I'm like, "No." I'm like, oh,
Don't say that anymore. I can't remember. Another say, gonna sit down.
and actually,
We change it.
Actually, dates.
Pieces to that.
what do you do?
How you gonna do? Like your pin on these. Oh, yes, it does. So if you.
They have to appear as a GID for, no,
They're both.
Well, not yet.
There was a hailstorm in Trinidad today.
Oh, yeah.
Gosh, please no.
Yeah.
Got used to.
Like,
I need to tell you about.
oh, they were like baby inside a big pool.
Just bumped into each other up there and like that.
It's like the little ones like got surrounded by this. Look at that.
Yeah.
I am in county. I'm in
Yeah, you're
county.
right. Yeah.
There was some age, and then I had to go like by the bank.
What? Even in couch.
Trees.
Oh, Jesus. Did you hear that notion? You seen that?
But I guess there were like some like, regular ones.
Okay, it's 6 o'clock. I'd like to call the GID, Northland GID meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Decker,
Here.
Mr. Jennings. Mr. Jennings. Ms. Mays,
Here.
Mr. Beals,
Here.
Ms. Sykes,
Here,
Mr. Martinez.
Here.
Mayor Bazzani.
Here. Will you stand for the pledge of allegiance, please?
Nick, the others. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
To entertain a motion for the approval of tonight's agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
I got a motion by Don Martinez to approve tonight's agenda. Second,
second,
second by Jackie Sykes. All in favor?
Right.
Opposed? Hearing none. Agenda is approved. New business. Approval of IGA between Northland GID and the city of Walsenburg. Second.
Does anyone have questions regarding the content or the purpose of the intergovernmental agreement between Walsenburg and the GID?
I do. So I guess I'm totally unclear of why we need a GID intergovernmental agreement when we have a wastewater system payment plan agreement that, in my opinion, spells out every detail. And it was signed by all of the property owners as well as the GID, as well as the council. So I guess I'm really concerned about not complying with the payment plan that's been in place since 13.
So our original city attorney, Dan Hyatt, was present when the agreement with the Northlands was originated, the water and sewer plan and the TIF covenants and the other documents. So he was intimately aware of the content in each of the documents and keeping track of the record for us. He met with the CPA team that is supporting the city, and he had a specific concern about the terms under which the money changes hands between the GID and the city. It was originally set up as a funds transfer. And that is a problem for the sewer fund. So the Dan Hyatt, while he was still here last year, he worked with the CPA to create this intergovernmental agreement so that we may correct that particular issue with the original documentation. The purpose of this document is to define the money turnover as a payment of sewer fees. And that we can record on the books and document as billed and paid sewer fees into the sewer fund and avoid any mixing with governmental funding.
Yeah, I read his email. It was
Okay,
in there. I read it.
So that's the purpose of that, and that was not included in the original work that was done in 2015.
Mhm. Okay, but if we have an intergovernmental agreement that specifies what they will pay, which I understand what you're saying, right? If it specifies dollar amounts, I, as a council person, don't know. Last I heard, you said you weren't clear on what they were going to pay. So now this IGA is stating specific amounts, and you haven't provided the counselor that I'm aware of what that represents and where they are on all of the other bills. Am I correct?
So there's a distinction between not being clear as to what the property owners and the business owners may be obligated to pay to the GID. The payment required from the GID to the city is specific, and it was established in
Right.
the original wastewater agreement.
Mhm.
And that amount constitutes the debt requirement and the short-lived asset fund requirement.
Right.
Given that the debt reserve is funded. So what this identifies is the exact same amount that's in the wastewater agreement that originally was drafted in 2015.
Yeah, I get that. 150,000 for the first 10 years, I think, and then the 178. I do understand that.
So that's both of those amounts, the debt payment and the short-lived asset reserve.
Change in the loan money. The reason that this all happened was the original loan was only to USDA. And the city borrowed that money plus the wastewater treatment. I think, or they borrowed that money in a lump sum from Colorado, wherever you borrowed it from. So Mark Ellis changed where the money came from. And that money can't be be whatever has table restrictions. The original amount.
It's in that letter.
Why this is happening.
Yeah, it's in the letter, Monica. That's what he said. So I understand that. Thank you very much for clarifying. But I don't so I guess where I'm coming from, you're asking us to approve this, and it does say from 2020, I believe, that you're saying they will pay that. But you've not showed us that they are, I haven't seen that that's all they owe. I haven't seen the paperwork that shows that that is all they owe.
So the Northlands, of course, has to pay any amount that they owe. This agreement is characterizing these payments.
That works.
Pardon?
I said that's usually how it works. We
Right.
have to pay what they owe, but
Yeah.
that's what we're saying here. Like, we've not seen anything. Since I have been sitting up here, I have asked about, the PIF money, the pledges from these property owners, like all of this. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, here's IGA, go with it. I can't understand it. And then you're saying Mr. Hyatt did this. I was on council then. I don't ever remember having this conversation. And then all of a sudden this is in front of us. So I get the confusion.
Wait, Hyatt drafted, of course, the original IGA. So I didn't know whether or not that had been before the council. That's unclear to me. And this has no connection with property owners and business owners and their obligations to the GID. This is strictly the characterization of how the money is moved from the GID to the city. It has no other.
And this is consistent with the original loan terms, loan amount, and payments that are due to the city from the general improvement district is my understanding. So there is not a discrepancy in those amounts.
So you're saying if I read the IGA, I'm sorry, if I read that, it is saying that they will pay by July 15th, 150,000 for 2020 and prior. I think that's the language in it. It says
Prior.
something like that. Okay, so that language is just saying that that's what they will pay by July 15th. All I'm saying, Mr. Moore, is that if you could provide us a history that they are up to that amount, then, you know, I understand what you're saying. I understand that we don't want to violate Tabor, right? That's what all of this is trying to do, correct?
Some protective.
Okay, but if we don't have, as the council, maybe everybody else has it, but I don't. I've not seen anything that shows that that is all that should be paid for 20.
So past payments aren't incorporated in the language of this agreement. It specifies the characterization of the payment for all the years 2020 forward. And the pattern of the payment shall be quarterly. So that is all that this agreement involves. Any prior status is separate and not affected by approval or disregard of this IGA.
Still,
What are you telling us?
well,
The previous to 2020? That's already.
So this
I
IGA,
think we need the accounting up to.
so this has nothing to do with money prior to 2020. This IGA characterizes all payments 2020 and forward as sewer service fee payments.
so
It's not trying to characterize any payment or obligation for payments prior to 2020. There's no reference to that.
So maybe this is what I need to understand. All you're doing is reclassifying the language.
Correct.
It is now to be classified as a fee.
That's all this is.
So why 2020?
Because we have, they haven't done any fund movement, so that will allow us to bill and to collect under the appropriate.
So what happened prior, what happened prior to 2020?
So I can look into that.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. I want to make sure that we're capturing everything that needs.
So the agreement doesn't need to capture that in terms of service fee payments.
Why?
Because I believe they're already done.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I can't guarantee that to you without digging into that deeper. But either way, the agreement here only looks back to 2020.
So I think the council needs to know too, that funds are, I don't want to say the funds are in the bank, but the funds are in the bank. So it's merely reclassifying for the purposes of Tabor instead of calling it a
Loan payment or a grant.
grant.
Yeah.
It has to be
A sewer
exactly,
service fee.
sewer service fee. So
Maybe you could refer the council to the email that Mr. Hyatt, because that is what Mr. Hyatt, that is the email, and I found it in the history. So that's Mr. Hyatt did explain that it would risk our water, our sewer enterprise
Right, status,
as of Tabor.
right,
So Mr. Hyatt did write this IGA we're looking at now.
yes. It's been edited down.
Yeah, and it's been reviewed again to ensure.
And
that-
you've reviewed it.
Yes, yeah, to ensure that, I mean, I've dug into all of these agreements, all
All
the
right.
history. I mean, it took a really long time to ensure that this brings us into Tabor compliance going forward.
But you say this money's in the bank since 2020. Who's been paying the loan?
Where's that been?
The loan is drawn, it was drawn out of the Northlands Bank. So,
They're paid up to 2023.
yeah, no, actually up until May when the bank's automatic transfer failed. But so the money was coming directly out of the Northlands GID.
That's how it was supposed to have been done.
Right, well, that's where the transfers have been coming from. So the important thing now is to recognize it as a sewer enterprise practice to collect that as a service fee which will also improve the profile of our sewer enterprise fund with the audit.
So we're gonna receive 2020 fees, 2021, 22, but GID already paid the loan for those years.
Yes.
So where is this money coming from? That don't make any sense to me.
So I will bill them and it will be booked as payments by a service fee for each of those years. It'll be official record.
So it's a booking thing. It's not, the money's not actually there.
Now, it has nothing to do with the money.
Okay.
That's the characterization of it.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the intergovernmental agreement between the city of Walsenburg, Colorado and the Northlands General Improvement District.
I got a motion by Don Martinez to approve the agreement. Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
I got a motion, a second. Is there any other discussion? A second by Jackie Sykes.
So I want to repeat this, okay? The money has already been paid, it's already been collected. The only thing that you are doing with this IGA is you are reclassifying the funds to be fees rather than a loan payment, and it has to do with not risking violation of Tabor for our water and sewer enterprise fund. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Thank you.
I have one question too. Does this affect the original contract at all?
No, this is exact same terms, the funds required for the debt payment and the short-lived asset payment. And it has no other language in it. So it simply characterizes how we treat the money as a service fee as opposed to how it was treated in the past as taxes and collection of monies that would potentially corrupt our sewer enterprise status.
Well, how come the 13,000 annually for the short-lived assets got transferred to the city's burden? And also the reserve of 150,000 that got transferred to the city and it used to be Northlands.
So the way it needs to be presented and has been is it is a sewer enterprise activity to operate the lift station. And the Northland pays the fees to make sure that that is maintained. So the city provides the maintenance, the city provides the work as a sewer enterprise activity. Is the sewer fund that obtained the loan.
And this has nothing to do with the, I guess it's PIF. It has nothing to do with the PIF and it has nothing to do with the individual property owners.
The
Pledges.
PIF obligations, the pledge obligations, and the tax allocations from their local sales collections are all paid into the GID. And then this is characterizing how the GID pays the city.
It looks like to me like you switched the burden of the district's obligation to the 13,000 and the reserve payment. From the GID to the city is what the last sentence says, number 6.
Right, the city is the operator, and that is what the federal government recognizes. And the state would consider that the city's obligation. So this makes sure that we're placing the money in such a form that it meets the rest of the state's requirements.
You mean the state wouldn't allow the GID to put that money up like they used to?
So the sewer, water sewer enterprise activity is the owner of the debt. So we can't show that the GID is paying the debt for the city. We need to show the city collecting that as a service fee.
So why can't we collect the 13,000 in the reserve of 150,000?
The attorney, both attorneys and our CPA team highly recommend this structure for the representation to the state.
I don't know why they messed with that part. It doesn't make any sense. Okay, I don't got nothing else.
But we're not paying this, they're contributing it.
Right, flat out, they're generating all the funds.
It doesn't say that.
The GID has to pay the city. The GID collects the funds via PIF, pledge, and sales tax.
Yeah, but Mr. Hyatt does have a letter out that goes into detail that probably nobody else up here has.
So there's a lot of history.
I don't know why we wouldn't get it.
I looked in the old emails.
Pardon?
I said, no one else up here apparently has that information provided to them. They were just given an IGA, which unfortunate, that not very good. The reason I know is because I read it in the old emails. So, yeah, we can,
I don't know how we can vote on things when we're not getting the information we need.
So if this is approved tonight, we'll be able to represent in our sewer fund for the audit for 2022 that we're collecting sewer fees for the last several years. And that will improve the sewer's profile in terms of the audit. If it's not accepted, then we still are exposed to the Tabor compliance risk, and it won't help the audit. I can't tell you how much help that is. All I know is we have financial experts, third party, and we have two different attorney firms that would say this is in the city's best interest, and we ask you to do the approval this evening.
I think maybe
Until-
the comment going forward is to ensure that packet is supplemented to give additional background for these. Maybe that was.
Exactly, thank you.
the comment.
Yeah, if we'd had Hyatt's emails plus the old IGA, it would have helped a lot. Like that wasn't attached to none of this.
well, it was just,
This is a fairly simple document, so, and it's has no other complication to the existing documents. It recharacterizes how that payment is identified.
Any other discussion? I got a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Ms. Mays? Yes. Ms. Vito?
Yes.
Mr. Martinez?
Yes.
Dave Bizani?
Yes.
Ms. Sykes?
yes,
Eckert?
Yes.
I would just ask in the future when it's things that have been addressed, especially by an attorney, if we can get all that information, not have to go through a search, find to follow up on it would be really helpful.
We keep asking, but we don't.
I know we keep asking, but it feels like it's,
Help.
you're gonna approve it, you have to do it tonight or the world's gonna end. And it's old already. It's old, is all I can say.
so Mr. Moore, may I say something, please? What appears to be basic to you, you know the history and you know exactly what is going on. We don't, and we are expected to make informed decisions. So maybe you think that it is simple, but if we are requested to make something that is going to affect the city, having information, how simple you may believe it is, would be very beneficial to you. Okay, thank you.
And what took so long since this was addressed in 2022? And then it's just like went radio silent and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, here's an IGA. What took so long to get it back in front of us in its final form?
The last version of the IGA had extra language in it that wasn't necessary. The entire need was to just identify sewer service fee. So the previous document had a variety of items in it. Mr. Hyatt retired and the 2021 audit had me.
But this was addressed in March of 2022. Mr. Hyatt didn't retire until December.
No, well,
What took
was
so long
hired until
not
after
to-
that, so I could not work with this particular document across that period of time.
And so I guess the next question would be to our administrator. If this was addressed in 2022 and you knew it was something that was outstanding with the retiring attorney, why wasn't that one of our priority items going into 2023?
So I started in July and the list of priority items. Again, part of the question too is ensuring that the information and the numbers that are represented in this document, which I don't believe the CPA really truly had pegged down until this spring anyway, in regards to 2021 and 2022. So, what we tried to present, Mr. Moore's credit, was a document that was in and presented all amounts to the best of our ability to identify so that it would coincide with the other agreement.
They do, it does.
We're past our 6:15 meeting. Straight into it. We got to adjourn this one first.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second by Jackie Sykes to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. I call to order the regular city council meeting of July 5th, 2023. It is 6:27. Roll call, please.
Ms. Martinez,
Here.
Ms. Sykes,
Here.
Ms. Mays,
There.
Mr. Beal,
Here.
Mr. Eckert,
Here.
Mr. Jennings. Mr. Jennings. Mayor Barsani.
Here. We do the pledge again? Don't have to. I'd entertain a motion to dispense with the pledge, means we just had one.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, good. Agenda approval.
Motion to approve tonight's agenda.
I got a motion by Don Martinez to approve tonight's agenda,
Second.
second by Jackie Sykes. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Well, I was gonna have a conversation. Are we having an executive session or
So,
we're gonna delete the executive session?
yeah, my suggestion is to amend the agenda to delete the executive session. I think it needs to be under, after my conversation with Mayor Barsani earlier, I think it may need to be addressed under a different topic in the
Okay.
future. To the extent, some kind of a proposal or other contract that comes up related to contracting, a water department supervisor. I think that tonight it would be appropriate to address that under, directions and actions. Moving on, looking for somebody to fill this role.
So would you?
So I'll amend my motion to delete the executive session. And do I need to switch the topic to say that we're going to switch the topic to under comments and directions, or?
The amendment would be to remove.
Yeah, I'll amend my motion to remove the executive session.
I got a motion by Don Martinez.
I'm in.
Second by Jackie Sykes. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Consent agenda, there is none tonight. So city council minutes. The regular council meeting, June 20th.
Motion to approve the minutes from the regular city council meeting, June 20th, 2023.
I got a motion by Don Martinez,
Second.
second by Jackie Sykes to approve the minutes from June 20th. Everybody's had time to read them before now, I'm sure.
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, motion passes.
So is it regarding the grant? Regarding the grant? I did speak with Mr. Colander. I do agree with you. It does not state what the actual motion was. I did talk to Mr. Colander and I did talk to the mayor about it. We're having the discussion now, what it included, what he included was what was written in the actual letter from DOLA, that we would contribute the 100,000. Is that what you're speaking of, Carmen?
I don't know what they're talking.
I agree. I agree.
I'm sorry, I don't think everybody's aware about what we're discussing right now.
Okay.
Question of, it's with the minutes, not a,
That's with the minutes. They brought it to my attention that the motion to approve the grant, Councilmember Martinez moved to accept the energy and mineral impact. 100,000. That's all he said. He didn't say a cash match of 100,000 for the development of comprehensive plan or land use. Blah, blah. That's what I understood.
But we're not even in that meeting yet. We're in the special meeting and I think it was in the regular meeting. So,
This is the minutes,
well, which one?
the minutes for June 20th.
Okay. So that's what it is. The minutes of the meeting do not quote what exactly was said. It does not quote the motion. He included additional information in the motion. It was not what was stated. So I don't know whether that's a.
But the additional information was in the grant letter. That's how I looked at it.
so for point of clarification here,
Mhm.
Ms. Stephanie, did council approve the June 2023 regular meeting minutes? Was there a vote on that?
Not yet, that's what's on the.
Yeah, we have
Right
it.
now.
Yeah. That's what we're discussing.
So is it the 2020 minutes that are in question?
June 20th of 23, yes.
Okay, I'm just trying to clarify. Because there, at one point, there was a discussion that we weren't on the right
Yeah,
minutes.
I was wrong.
So I was just trying to get on the same page. I'm sorry.
It actually started at 4 o'clock with the CML, but then it just went into the regular meeting.
Okay, so what we're talking about is on those meetings, item 8. Or it's listed as 8,
Okay.
7, huh?
It's what line?
Line 107.
6, item 8.
Yeah.
Okay.
It says, Councilmember Martinez moves to accept the energy and mineral impact grant in the amount of $100,000, period. That is where the motion ended. He included with the city cash match of $100,000 for the development of comprehensive plan and land use code review for the city of Walsenburg. We further authorize the appropriate individual to sign award contract documents. That was not all in the motion.
Okay, so if you'd like to amend the minutes to reflect that that wasn't Mr. Martinez's full motion, that's fine. The motion was to accept the grant, which included the cash match of $100,000. So it's really semantics. That's what was approved.
That's. What's the pleasure?
That's how I looked at it. It was in the grant letter details. Maybe the details shouldn't have been part of his motion, but
If you want to be accurate, you can certainly amend to
Yeah.
strike that, but it's just so you know, it's not going to impact what was actually approved because that's what was approved.
is everybody good with leaving the minutes the way they are?
Yes.
Yes. Again? No, all right. Minutes for June 20th, 23 approved.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the city council June 21, 2023 special meeting.
Second.
I got a motion by Don Martinez to approve the June 21st meeting of 2023, second by Jackie Sykes. Any discussion? No? All in favor?
Aye.
Hearing none. Motion passed. City Attorney Catherine Vera. We got any closure? I guess we just look at it.
Mhm.
So the only addition I have is that, that eviction complaint, on Friday, it was accepted by the court today. I will send council a copy of those, please.
Door. Can you open the door, please?
Yeah, but then you can't hear anything. That's
All right.
part of the problem. I'm sorry.
Here.
Any questions of City Attorney? Or her report? Hearing none, we can move on. City Administrator Davis.
So on the, in front of you at your chair, you should have had this evening, both the lake reads as a, well as the water hall report that I noted available because available yet on June 30th. So the water hall documentation is there. Only other addition that I have over and above what was in the report is on Wednesday of last week, I did attend a bid opening at GMS in Colorado Springs for a train project. Unfortunately, we had no bids to open. So as of today, GMS started working actually Thursday morning on identifying potential contractors that either had the ability and the time, also the ability to work within the confines of our budget, and have a discussion with them to then perhaps enter into a negotiated contract. We have one party who will be here tomorrow to actually review the plant as well as the documents. They've provided documents to a couple of other entities as well. So hopefully, for those new to the council in this particular project, this is an energy mineral impact funded project. It had matching funds that were available through ARPA. This was funded nearly 2 years ago. The contract deadline is December of 2023 as to when the project was supposed to be completed. Between COVID design issues that we ran into, we're now in July and still don't have a contractor. So as an addendum to this conversation, I will in the next couple of weeks, if we can identify a contractor, have a conversation with DOLA and initiate a request to extend our contract because of the contracting constraints that we've had. So we can only hope that the budget is still relative and we can complete this project. So that's the only other addition I have.
How did you find the contractor that's coming tomorrow? Did GMS find them or?
GMS had multiple conversations when they got
plans
week and weren't getting a lot of response from contractors or entities. And started calling, and this particular entity had expressed interest in the project, but didn't feel like they had the time available to complete a viable proposal. And then there's several other entities that they had conversations with also to that effect. So they.
If we go that way, does GMS still do inspections and stuff, or somebody's got to monitor these guys?
Yes. GMS has the engineering inspection and contract proposal or construction management aspect of the project.
before I got too much farther, Tara Marshall did call. She did for our training at 5 o'clock. She ended up in the hospital with some heart issues. She's okay. But it was not her fault. So everybody on Zoom and everybody here, it's just one of those things that happen, and thank God she's fine. I forgot to mention that at the beginning, so it's good for that. Any other questions, City Administrator?
So there was some discussion about in the report about the youth camp. I think we had made a motion at one of the meetings last month, maybe, to do a market analysis. I haven't heard a thing about it. I did read and I did see that there was a thing, but we still have to have some kind of a analysis, don't we?
Well,
Evaluation of it?
currently, I haven't been able to identify anyone who can present a market analysis. And I've even struggled with finding someone who is available and in a position to contract even for a full appraisal. So we have a tentative appraisal price from a company out of Denver. And then everyone else I contract for 3 to 4 months out. So
So it is still in the works. We are moving forward on it.
we're trying.
Okay, yeah.
It's interesting that we continue to have interested parties.
But I mean, 3 to 4 months in the future, we get it scheduled, we're gonna be there. So why aren't we just getting it scheduled 3 months down the road?
That's a full appraisal and they say they can do it in 3 to 4 months, but they didn't put a price tag associated. So I don't really even have anything to come back to you with in terms of an appraisal cost. So
I just feel like we have to start somewhere.
Have an auction sale, the highest bidder gets it. That's how you find out what it's worth. You can appraise all you want. Any other questions? Okay, we'll move on. City Building Inspector and Code Enforcement is Ms. Davis. Any questions? Jackie?
Ms. Davis, on the code enforcement, I have had a lot of contact for a big concern. And it is on here. And it is a property that is a health hazard. And I don't understand why the city can't take action on it. Is it in our code or isn't there some type of a law that you cannot occupy a house without water or sewer?
yes, there is. The difficulty has been in that the owner of the property is not local. The conversations and the paperwork has been extensive, including the sheriff.
Right.
It's my understanding on this particular case that he has been in contact with the property owner to be able to go in and serve vacation notification kinds of things and clear the house. The unfortunate thing is they haven't finished the paperwork, so our ability is somewhat limited in what we can do.
So I don't understand that. Could you help me understand? If it's an ordinance violation, why can't we serve the papers?
we serve the papers, but we don't have the authority necessarily to clear the house and then proceed from there.
Well, wouldn't we have to go to court, take them to go to get a court case? I don't understand what
So it's, and I don't know all the details. I'm giving you kind of the highbrow,
Mhm.
sort of been
Mhm.
conversation across the desk. I know the sheriff's involved. I know the owner is from out of town, has been notified. The paperwork that the sheriff was requiring to be able to complete his process. He was waiting for the property owner to provide. So I think we have run the gamut of what our capability from code enforcement is without further documentation and support from the sheriff and district court, I think is what it's probably going to take.
So the sheriff, you're saying that it's in the sheriff's hands right now?
That's my understanding, that he had the last the owner. My knowledge, I'm not sure that we've had that success. But that would be a conversation I'd have to have with
Yeah, it's
Rizal.
If you could find out about that, I would appreciate it. I believe that there was maybe a fire last night at that property as well.
I'm sorry, a what?
Fire.
Oh, I thought you said a buyer.
Oh, too bad it isn't a buyer, huh?
Right, well,
So I would really think that we need to get moving on that before something happens. It's been on the city's code enforcement for a couple months.
It seems like a lot of these are repeat offenders.
Well, this one is pretty serious, I believe. So thank you, Ms. Davis.
Any other questions?
So this isn't really, well, I guess it could be code enforcement. So I had sent an email asking when Colorado Avenue weeds will be cleaned up. Now, we talk about enforcing on citizens, but when do we enforce on ourselves? And, this was an issue, I can't remember if it was last year, year before, when that whole Colorado area, you got a ditch running through there. Once those weeds start getting high, people start throwing trash, like it gets a mess. And it's a simple, let's get there and cut those weeds down. And I did send an email, never received a response. So I'm just curious, how do we remedy our own code enforcement issues? If we're not gonna take care of our own, how do we expect other people to do it?
the conversation I've had with Streets and Alleys is they are aware of it. They've walked it to identify where the hidden asphalt piles are. They have removed some of those to help facilitate a mowing operation. Problem that we have is that we have a brush hog that has I think either a bad hydraulic hose that we're needing to repair. But there's a connection issue between the whacker and the brush hog. So we are aware of it. We are trying to get to it as quickly as possible, but we're having an equipment issue at the moment.
I got a question, Gary.
Okay, Nick?
Are we cleaning the ditches in town? The one on Hand Run by Pinion Park is completely overgrown. There's trash in it. I was called there months ago. Got another call. We haven't done anything to it.
Yes. Both the Parks Department and Streets and Alley are aware of that issue as well. And I hate to say it's boils down to equipment, but some of the size of the,
Can't get equipment in there. Can't get no equipment in there but a rake and a shovel.
they have a grapple hook and some tongs, and
I don't think you need all that. You could clean it easier, but
they have been made aware of the situation. We are tracking it.
and one other thing. The end of the alley here, that house is a mess, and that's our house. Go down this alley, the last house on the right, city bought that to expand the lot. And it hasn't been touched since me and Brian and some kids cleaned it a couple years ago. It looks terrible.
I didn't know we owned the house.
Well, we're threatening other people and we're not taking care of our own stuff.
I apologize. I didn't know we owned the property, so.
Any other discussion, questions? Hearing none, we'll move on. Animal Control Officer, you have an enclosure? Any questions?
I do have a question.
Yeah.
I heard the state's coming down real hard on animal control. And we have a lot of things to fix out there. I haven't seen a report.
Passed our animal control inspection about 3 months ago. The state was down and certified our kennel, so.
Think you need to check that out because I had a couple calls on it.
A couple of calls from private citizens.
Yes. That are working with Rebecca.
Okay, yeah, all I can tell you is that we passed the last inspection like that.
Changed a lot of the rules though.
Okay.
Is what I heard.
Anything else? Hearing none, we'll move on. City Clerk, you have the City Court docket, continuous 23 docket, and you also have the City Court last agenda. Any discussion or questions?
Well, there were no enclosures on those.
What's that?
There was no enclosures on those.
I have
Docket and the agenda.
Open.
Yeah, we don't have any. You wouldn't,
I have them.
I have them.
you must be special.
I have them too.
I got them on mine.
So do I.
Yeah, I don't
got
have
'em on
them.
papers.
Did you open them via email or did you open them via
No.
email? That's how I opened mine.
The only email, that's the only way we
Has
can.
anybody opened it on the website? Are they on there? Anybody here opened them on the website?
I have them.
Not on the.
Open.
They're not on the website for the public. They're just council only. And so on your emails where you would have gotten them.
Okay,
So I did not get them, Rick. Can you please resend it? And Jackie
Okay,
didn't
I
get
don't know how you
it
didn't.
I didn't get it.
either. You come look.
Yeah, none of the council got,
I got mine. But
yeah.
doesn't seem like anybody
Same
else. did.
agenda, but to all of the same people, but okay.
You can come and look.
Yeah, I'm looking at their computers. They're not on their. No,
Well, I believe it. I just don't understand why.
okay. Well, that's one thing we need to see if we can fix. I think we let this go for tonight.
Yeah.
Okay,
Did you see anything?
unless you can get
down?
them sent again, Rick.
Let's find them.
He, Donald looked at him, so let's just go on,
Okay.
right? I'll take Donald's word.
I don't know if we should do that or not. Any other discussion on?
No, just Rick, can you please resend?
I will.
Okay, he said he would. So then we can move on. Maybe we can go back if you see something, have any questions later. City Accountant, Mr. Moore, so I'm gonna close here. Any questions of Mr. Moore?
So, Mr. Moore.
Go ahead,
Yeah,
Jackie.
so Mr. Moore, on this, the first meeting with the audit team is postponed. So I know that we have a calendar of, deadlines. Are we gonna be, we don't, this postponing this is gonna be fine still?
Yes.
Huh?
If an extension needs to be filed, I'll get an extension put out to the state auditor.
Okay.
You need approval from us to do that.
Would you like to give approval on that? I'm not aware.
I'm just saying, I'm asking. I know we've talked about extensions up here before, so that's why I'm asking the question.
If we need an extension, of course, the city's best interest is to get that filed in a timely fashion.
And you'll just inform us that you filed for it.
So we should, our next meeting is scheduled for July 18th. If it seems at the time appropriate that we
Right.
have to file for an extension, it will be on the agenda.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions of Mr. Moore?
One thing I would like to ask for our next meeting. When I first asked for the aged report and we did get it, I asked a question of what does the final mean? So why are some of them final and some of them aren't, right? And I never got that answer. So in the next, when you present it, next time, will you be able to answer that, please? Or you can put it in your report, which would be really good, because then when I'm reviewing it, I'll know what your answer is, right? Thank you.
Any other questions from the accountant? Hearing none, we'll move on. City Treasurer Stephanie Barr. You have an enclosure? Paid invoices. Any discussion?
Would it be possible for you to give to the council some detailed information on, I don't remember whether Veronica asked some time ago what the contract for Parker excavation, if it included the cost for, if there was a difference in when he charges for our equipment, using our equipment, and when it's just labor. I believe there was, she asked that question, and I don't believe we ever got his contract. And I see that there was a pretty large payment made to him on this report. Would we be able to get copies of that invoice, please? And then,
Contract.
yeah, please. Thank you.
Any other questions? Hearing none, we'll move on. Citizens' comments. Stephanie?
Laura? You had miscellaneous subjects to talk about?
After hearing what's going on today, I don't even know what to talk about.
Can we get your name?
Oh, sorry. I'm Laura, Lara. Good evening.
Hi.
Hey.
I don't know how to be positive with all the problems that are going on. I know people are trying, but things are a mess. So, but I heard today, excuse me. No real understanding of what's going on. I don't understand how so much of the equipment is broken. Every time someone asks about the equipment, is broken. The router's broken, the street sweeper's broken. Now the thing that cuts the weeds is broken. I don't understand, are not the people being trained properly on it? Are they misusing it? I know it's not that old because I think we were still paying on the street sweeper like a year ago. So I don't even know if that's paid off. Anyway, I appreciate you, you're new. A lot of council's new. There are a lot of things that need to be learned. I understand that. But I think you, as well as Miss Davis, need to also remember that you both work for council. Okay. I know Miss Davis can go to you and talk to you about things, but you are responsible to the council. And I'm not seeing a lot of answers for council from you. Okay, so there are too many policies still not being followed. To have your employees come, the department heads come and give a review. We used to get a fantastic report. There were this many water breaks, fixed them, this happened, this happened, this happened. We're not getting any of that. And council needs to know that so they know how the city's operating. There's no asphalt being purchased. There's no, well, I don't know. Can you clean the streets? I don't know what's going on. The drains are clogged. I'm getting a lot of complaints from the citizens. So I know I'm going to be cut off here pretty soon. So I just don't understand what the heck's going on. You haven't responded to my complaint. I will expect an answer because I will go higher than here if I need to. I'm not afraid to do that. Your audit report, you did not meet the audit deadline. So if you file for an extension, which you can, but the state can also withhold the property revenue because you did not file for that extension. So I brought that up before. You said, no, that's not right, but it said an audit is required, but has not been filed. The county treasurer may be authorized to withhold the local government tax revenue. You might want to update this because the dates on it are wrong. You have the meeting going on tomorrow. Anyway, so much to talk about. I understand the planters and the flowers on Main Street. They look nice.
Thank you.
Thank you, Carmen.
We have pencils for me to hand out to everyone. Thank you.
I wrote this a couple weeks ago, so
Could you state your name for us, Mr. Meisman, and spell it, please?
Al Meisman, last name M-E-I-S.
Sorry.
Your counsel. A little over 3 minutes, so bear, please. Dave Davis is not a risk taker. Check her paycheck. Governments are not by design risk takers, except in time of war. Then they kill people, mainly young, legally, and print baseless money and build ships and airplanes. Those who bet the rent money on a new business venture are risk takers. They need and deserve the government's total support. Folks, we, the U.S., are risking our young, and they know it. I've got some kids. We're at war, I think. IT agents coming to a place near you very soon will write this in permanent ink, I think. I just returned from 2 weeks in California. They're growing so much out there, they could feed the world. They brag about having half the country homeless to take care of. If Walsenburg continues to play by Denver's rule book, we are dead. Our word is entrepreneurs are risk takers. Get rid of the IBC and help them discover new methods, materials, and ideas. You can pick an article and the others too. Fighting with both hands tied behind our back is a loser's game. Make no mistake about it. DIA has no shingles. Ever noticed? That method was illegal. So Governor Romer, who got elected on his promise to build it, made it legal and safe. Romer was my neighbor when I was a kid, and he couldn't build a rabbit hutch. Please see attached articles that support my point. Risk means you don't know the outcome and have some skin in the game. Especially now, if you go over Midway, the Chinese are building a brand new carrier that's out of sight. And the paragraph, this is the paragraph in the middle of the page. The United States had been a leader in this field since 1980, he said, but from the turn of the millennium, Chinese scientists have received more persistent support from their government than our competitors. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. He's right though.
Next.
Brian Lander. Northland.
Brian Lalander, BRIANLALANDER. We're even starting to talk about this subject because I can't even begin to talk about what needs to be heard in less than 20, 30 minutes. But so I want to preface this with, if I was sitting up there at that table right now, I would pass this IGA. But I have reservations this high about this whole entire IGA. Greg isn't here to give you a little history lesson, so let me give you a really quick history lesson of how this all began. It wasn't called an IGA, it was called an agreement with Greg's son. Greg's son looked at data and interpreted it without consulting the attorney and started to create a budget for 2020 while we were doing for 2021 while we were doing the 2020 audit. It remembers what happened when they tried to push the Northlands budget through administration did, contrary to the attorney's opinion. So when we got Todd on board and he looked at this, he says, we need to fix these problems. But there's a lot of agreements. There's an annexation agreement in 2008, and there's a whole slew of agreements. None of those have been looked at. What you're looking at is the wastewater payment plan agreement piece. That's what you're looking at. The IGA, why did it take so long? People in Northlands were blamed for objecting to that. People in Northlands had nothing to do with that. I objected to that because that IGA changed those agreements. Now you're going to pass an IGA that matches the wastewater treatment plan agreement. I think that's the best that you can produce at this point. My guess is none of this was even required. Because my guess is, have you ever seen the 2015 IGA between the, you have?
Yes.
Okay, so we have finally found that IGA. And did that IGA change? Because you have agreements before that, where were those paid? Now that's not affecting that 10% limit. That's not affecting that, but that's a huge mess that wasn't unraveled in the 19 audit, wasn't unraveled in the 20 audit, probably isn't going to be unraveled in this audit, to make sure that all the things that Northlands was supposed to pay were paid, and all the things that they weren't supposed to be charged for, that they were charged for. Because if you go back and you look all the way back, Jackie, at those audits, you will see that. But I would pass it. One quick question though, do businesses have to have a water tap and sewer tap?
Anyone else in house? Yeah, on Zoom, it's Stacy Decker.
Good evening, council. How you guys doing? Stacy Decker, SDACY, no E, please. Decker, DECKER, still got to work for a living. Bringing up from the last meeting, kind of for Ms. Davis and the council in general and legal, staffing and employment for the city. While we have made improvements on staffing and we've gotten some people hired in, which I really appreciate hearing some of that positive information, can the city consider an update to the drug requirements on applications, specifically with regards to marijuana? I know there may be some concerns or constraints with regards to employment federally, et cetera, et cetera. Is that a possibility, Ms. Davis?
I can look into that, sir, and respond in an email, but I won't respond beyond that this evening.
Okay, yeah, it's one of those things. I'm sure it's part legal, part federal, part et cetera, but knowing that we have challenges at getting employees, it would be nice to know and understand if that's something that we could kind of work around a little bit. With regards to the water report we received on a bill, is there an easier to understand description of what all that means? Anyone? It looks positive. Is it positive? There's a lot of information there. Is there a easier way to understand that?
They can't respond. Mr. Bonner said that can't send exactly what he said. Some.
Yes, no, okay. So I do appreciate in Ms. Davis's report reading some of the positive outcomes and situations with regards to water staffing levels for the city. It's nice to hear some positive information, positive news coming out of the reports. Those are the things that can help us improve the city, and I appreciate knowing those things. I am looking forward to the facade project that's going on downtown. Is there any information beyond your report as to how citizens, et cetera, can help and work with that? Ms. Davis, anything like that? Just
It's a program that has not been approved.
Okay, we're working on that. I would say as a citizen, I would like to approve whatever we can do to help that out. It'd be great. My final question is, I did send an email regarding building permits for things like driveways, patios, etc. Is that a requirement based on my knowledge? I have not seen specifically if driveways and patios require building permit requests. I looked through the community code. It used to be?
Didn't used to be.
Okay. Yeah, I was looking through the community codes and I wasn't certain. It says, it talks about foundation. It does not talk about things like a driveway, which is not a foundation, which.
No.
Yeah. So is it, do we know if that's required or not?
We'll
Okay.
respond based upon building inspection, code enforcement.
Cool. Thank you very much. You guys have a great evening.
Next.
Cynthia Cresswell on Zoom.
Good evening, everybody. Cynthia Cresswell, CYNTHIA CRESSWELL. I just had one extra item added. I've got 4 items regarding Mr. Decker and the possibility of relaxing some of the marijuana requirements or information like that. My only concern with that would be marijuana causes impairment the same as alcohol does. And if they're operating heavy equipment, that would be a concern.
Can't operate any equipment.
Yeah, well, but you understand where I'm going with that. My second concern or my second item was in Mr. Moore's report. There was no update on the Aguilar delinquency, payments made, balance due updates. And again, I state it was made public to the community and residents. So I think updates should also be made public to the residents because we get hammered. So they're getting a pass somewhat. My next question, and I understand I won't get a lot of answers. That's why I'm going through them rather quickly. The billing, the water, gas billing or utilities was on express bill pay prior to the end of the billing cycle, which I'm kind of concerned and curious as to how that happened. And the hard bills still have not been received, at least by myself. The next thing, and Gay, if you could email me with a process that's appropriate on how to proceed forward. The blacktop or street, however you want to refer to it, by the railroad tracks on Hendron and the laundromat really needs to be repaired. That's a high traffic, high traveled area, and it's getting worse. It's hard on vehicles and it's really hard on motorcycles. So if you could tell me what process to submit a request to get that put on the work order list, that would be greatly appreciated.
Railroad and what? I'm sorry.
Hendron and 6, right there by the laundromat.
Right over here.
That
Yeah.
may be the railroad.
It is a railroad.
It's actually not the railroad's concern because I did stop one of them and ask them. The blacktop is the city's responsibility.
You're right.
I do my homework before I present, or at least I attempt to. Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't see anyone else on Zoom.
Anybody else? Next, we have a presentation from the Honorable Municipal Judge Joel Schultz.
Thank you, Mayor. Every 4th Monday, barring a holiday, I sit in your chair and I apologize if I address that for you.
You got a better one. It was a broken one before.
I did trade out. I'm
okay.
Yeah, and I got it. Thanks.
But many apologies. Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor, councilors, city officials and citizens. I have on occasion, I'm in my 5th year of service as municipal judge, the first year of my 3rd term. I have over the years submitted periodic reports, but I thought with the turnover in council and other personnel that I might just give you a snapshot of what the municipal court does and what the authority is. I believe municipal court is important because it is the most accessible criminal justice component that citizens see. Sometimes that's all the court system they see. We have some flexibility in the way that we operate. We must for a variety of reasons. But we retain the dignity, formality, and procedure required to ensure due process for all citizens who appear before the court. I am one of very few non-attorney judges in the state. And I do get consulted by various folks in the city on matters during the week. And so I do basically work one day a month, but I also am on call for a variety of things. Our jurisdiction is over city ordinances and only city ordinances. And that consists of code violations, including nuisance and animal calls, which is the bulk of our activity in the last few years. And then offenses that are also state criminal offenses other than domestic violence, and then traffic offenses excluding DUI and some other things that the city by ordinance has excluded from the Uniform Traffic Code. We are not a court of record. So if there is an appeal from a decision that's rendered, it is appealed de novo, which means it starts from brand new. And there have been no appeals from my decisions to date. Just in order to give a snapshot, I asked Mr. Colander, who has done a tremendous job as court clerk, to tally some things from 2022. And there were 151 cases presented before the court in 2022. 36 of those were from county law enforcement, and the balance was from city code enforcement. I must note that code enforcement has no authority to cite or arrest for violations that are statutory crimes with potential jail time, so they are limited in what they can do. In sentencing, I can do no more than 90 days in jail and no more than $300 fine per offense. I attempt to resolve problems and not merely punish. Fines, orders, restitution, and probation conditions are optional in sentencing. Jail is not a legal alternative for code violations or for non-payment of fines. And issuing probation conditions or sentences of community service or some type of class attendance is not something that's viable for a variety of reasons. The cases that we had in 2022 include 5 traffic, 13 trespass, 4 theft, 3 drug-related, marijuana-related, 8 assault, harassment, disorder, orderly resisting type offenses. And so that's the total of our non-code related offenses that came before. Or you may notice an absence of speeding, an absence of juvenile cases, an absence of a variety of things, but that's what we get. We collected a total of about $1,200 in fines in 2022. And that is a low number, and it impedes some of the options that we might have. For example, if somebody is in jail, we pretty much have to release them on bond. If they're in jail for more than 4 hours on a warrant, then we have to provide them with an attorney or an appearance before the judge. Jury trials can be expensive, and we have to provide attorneys for those who face potential jail time and can prove indigency. And that's something that I have not had to do during my tenure. And those attorneys have to be approved by some state commission. So we will wander into that territory if we have to, but on a budget of receipts of $1,200, I try to avoid those things. One of the things, 2 things I want to talk to you about. One is, and I must maintain judicial indifference to questions of enforcement. My job is to simply look at the things that come before the court. I need to avoid knowing much about a case before it comes before me, because I can only, so for example, if there's a at an intersection I can only look at the evidence from the case. I can't go out and remember what the intersection looked like from my own. So those are just some of the things that are required, which means that when some people come before the court, a disposition may be a dismissal, or maybe a reduction in fine, or maybe a guilty finding. And some people might roll your eyes and say, oh, come on, you know this person, or you know that situation, and I can only operate on what comes before me. So I will mention what challenges we have after the loss of our police department. And again, this is not a critique or recommendation, it's just a set of facts. Some of you may know I was police chief from 95 to 97 here in Walsenburg. During that period of time, the court revenue generated $25,000 in fines. And I only know that because we were in budget discussions and that kind of came up. And so I do not believe that we are in the revenue making business. We do not go out and run speed traps in order to fund the city, as some places have done. But we would expect offenders to pay their fair share of court operations. And so we lost that revenue without enforcement of city ordinances that are being filed in city court. We also lost the access to the criminal justice databases. And so if we want to run a background for a sentence investigation or for see what kind of traffic violations a person has in their history, we have to ask the sheriff's department. Communication center has been very, very cooperative, but it's out of our control. We don't have access to that. We also have issues with accountability to the court in terms of reports, serving of warrants, getting evidence, officers appearing. Again, we've had cooperation from the sheriff's department when asked, but we have had some lapses in the production of evidence and the timely issuance of reports and those kinds of things that are necessary for me to conduct a case. We also have had some challenges with document service, as has already been kind of mentioned in one of the other issues today. So what would help the court, and again, this is just a fact-based opinion, if we did have a city marshal or a city officer to do some of the things that need to be done in the city that right now are totally dependent on the, I don't want to say whim, but the pleasure of the sheriff's department, we might have some more success in enforcing a variety of ordinances. Secondly, if the city could provide a method of debt collection. The Supreme Court doesn't have its own army, and I don't have mine either. And I have learned in life that we do not make threats, only promises. And so I only order what I think is enforceable and collectible. And right now, if somebody wants to flaunt that, the worst that I can do, the best that I can do is to have imposed a probation requirement. And if they fail to do that, which might include payment of fine or restitution, I might be able to produce a charge of contempt of court as a potential threat for jail time. But then again, a contempt of court is a second charge, which may require an attorney and a jury and an appeals process. So we try to avoid that. It would be helpful if I knew that there was going to be a city effort to collect on fines, and Rick could give us a delinquency rate on that. I don't know what that is right offhand. The other thing that would help in enforcement of my orders is for the city to have some resources for cleanup. So if somebody comes in and they have a trashy property, we really try to work with them. The city code enforcement tries to work with them before they get them cited in the court. Very pleased with what they're doing there. But when a case does come into court and I have someone who thinks that if they pay the fine, then that's it. No, if you had a violation on X day, paying the fine doesn't erase that violation. And even a finding of guilty doesn't mean that the property is going to be cleaned up. So I would have to order the property be cleaned up. I will not make a direct court order to the city because I can't guarantee that the city would be able to or willing to go through the expense of cleaning up a property, although it has happened once in my tenure, of cleaning the property, billing the property owner, charging the 10% surcharge for the costs, and failing to do that, being willing to put a debt collection in process or file a lien against the property for enforcement. So that would be helpful in order to have some teeth in my sentencing. I can't order anybody to do anything that they're not willing to do because I have very little to threaten them with. And as I said, they don't make threats. I come from the bench, make promises. If anybody has any questions about procedures, thoughts, statistics, I'd be happy to answer them at this time.
I have one.
Yes or no?
Does the city have a process for filing a lien? That's where we've had problems in the past. We clean up properties and they just let it go. We never get the money.
There is a process. It's not a court process. So I don't know that the city has employed it anytime recently. But it would not, that wouldn't necessarily go through my court. And that doesn't mean that you necessarily own the property, it just encumbers the property and keeps it from being sold.
You might be a little quicker to try to attach water or sewer fees or gas fees. I mean, that's a threat to shutting that off is immediate. You get your money right away, but I don't know if it's legal.
I don't think you can.
You can't do that. Because it takes a long, you have to wait for the property to sell to do it.
Yeah.
Get your money back on the lien.
That's right, if the threat doesn't work or if they don't particularly care.
I was just thinking that'd be a way where they'd have to, if they want water, sewer, but.
We did have one property that was owned by a real estate company and we urged them not to have a lien on their property so that they could sell it more easily and they were able to clean it up with that.
If you got one of those.
We try to negotiate when we can to get something resolved.
Or just once a month.
It is. I have been willing to schedule other dates or times if necessary, if it's hard for a defendant to show up or something like that.
Okay. Have you ever had a prosecutor staff?
No, that's one of the flexibilities of the court. If we had a jury trial and we had a defendant with an attorney, I would ask somebody to come in and be that person in the adversarial system. Right now, the court basically presents the city presents the charges. I do what a judge does, which is assess the evidence. And I kind of act, I wouldn't say as a defense attorney, but I'm very scrupulous in making sure that a defendant has all the rights that they're entitled to. Both asking if they understand and having them sign affirmation of their rights. But I know I sound like a lawyer because I could have answered your question with no.
Do you recall the last time the city has raised the fines for certain municipal offenses?
It hasn't been during my tenure, so I do not.
Okay. And how long has your tenure been?
I'm in my 5th year.
Okay.
My term will expire in December of 2025.
So code enforcement is presenting charges presently.
That's
Is that
correct.
the city representative presenting charges?
That's correct.
Okay.
And again, I don't have any financial interest in this. I don't care whether I have no cases or 30 cases. My paycheck is the same. But years ago that the last knew what the revenue was about not quite 30 years ago. And if you adjust for inflation, that would be assuming the fines kept up with inflation, that would be $50,000 today. And again, I'm not in this to make revenue, but.
Well, and I think that, part of that revenue is if the city was collecting that type of revenue, they could put in place some of the things you talked about, where they can go out and clean these properties or, and enforce more of this code enforcement. Like right now, I kind of feel like it's just like a slap on the hand, if it's even that half the time. I read some of those and it's the same people in your courtroom all the time. You probably know these people by, and it's the same thing over and over and over. And it just seems like we don't get anywhere. It just seems, is there anything that this council can put in place? And this might be more of a question for you, that we can give you some of that strength to, maybe build some more revenue so that the city can kind of do some of these things that you're talking about.
I think the debt collection, fine collection process, if it existed, would help our delinquency rate. And again, I want to be careful to be disinterested in this, but if hypothetically the sheriff's department would cite more cases from the city into municipal court under city ordinance, then the fines would accrue to the city rather than wherever they're going. And again, to be here 5 years and not having a juvenile case.
It's hard to believe.
Speeding case in all of 2022. We all have a sense of what's going on in town, and it may be happening in county and district court. I visit those courts and I see cases are there. So I'm not saying there's nothing being done, but I'm seeing very little.
Not coming through your court.
That's correct.
District or county court.
That's correct. Any other questions or comments? Okay, I've got a city email, so anytime.
We'll do what we can.
Thank you.
No public hearings, unfinished business. Nothing on the agenda. Anybody have anything? Hearing and no, we'll move on. New business. Approval of IGA between Northlands GID and the city of Walsenburg.
So how is this different from what we did earlier?
Because we accepted it as the GID. Now we have to accept it as the city council. So if you have any concerns, now's the time to say them, accepting them as city council. Right?
Right.
Exactly. So if you want to wait, go ahead.
We accepted it as the GID board. Now we're doing it.
Mhm.
All right, I'll make a motion then to approve the intergovernmental agreement between the city of Walsenburg, Colorado and the Northlands General Improvement District.
I got a motion from Don Martinez. Do I hear a second?
I'll second
Second from Nick Beal. Any further discussion? I think we had plenty, but any more?
I would
Go ahead.
say, so, Mr. Moore, you said that if we don't accept this, what's going to happen with the audit? I understand the audit. I understand what it's all about. But if we don't accept it tonight, you provide the council more information, the emails and that type of thing. The attorney have some input into it and we approve it or, well, bring it back for 2 weeks. What would that do?
So I would have to find those documents.
Well, they're in here. You can Google them. Mhm.
In where?
Well, they're in the email. I can give them to you. I can forward them to you.
What email is that? Sorry.
Anyway,
As the audit moves forward, if the agreement isn't set, then we won't have the service fee identified as a source of revenue.
Right.
Which would still cause the sewer enterprise to appear to not have that revenue.
Right, but what's the?
If we were just moving the funds, then that won't show. And that would detract from the way the sewer enterprise is presented. And currently, we have 3 debt collectors who are attached to the revenue with the sewer enterprise, and we're currently in violation of their debt covenants because we lack adequate revenue. So that's what I'm referring to in that respect.
So what's the deadline? Would 2 weeks next week make a difference to you or no?
I don't know. So if the auditors pick it up, I'm hoping that I can pass this off to the auditors by the end of this week, which would be too late then. So I was hoping that we could have this IGA here earlier, but there were some issues with the language in the old one that had to get looked at. And so that process has taken time. And then I wanted to make sure that the Northlands population wasn't having any particular level of distress with how the document is presented, since they have an interest. So I don't recommend a delay.
Sure, I'm sure you don't. Yeah.
Anybody else? I had a motion. Did I get a second?
I did.
Oh, you got a motion?
Mr. V Hill, like,
Oh, Nick did, yeah,
Yes.
sorry.
I got a motion by Donna Martinez and second by Nick Hill to approve the IGA between the Northlands GID and the city of Walsenburg. Any other discussion? No, roll call, please.
Mr. Beal,
Yes.
Mays,
Yes.
Mr. Ecker,
Yes.
Mr. Martinez,
Yes.
Mayor Barsani,
Yeah.
Ms. Sykes,
yes,
passes.
Next item, number 6, under new business. The approval of service agreement for Wahatoya Information Technology Services.
I'll make a motion to approve the service agreement for Wahatoya Information Technology Services, IT.
I got a motion by Don Martinez. Do I hear a second?
I'll make a second for discussion purposes.
We can go into discussion.
So this appears to me to be a new contract. So if it's a new contract, why would we not put this out to bid?
so contract services aren't necessarily required to be put out to bid.
Okay,
This was necessitated by the fact that Ashkatech has declined to continue doing business.
So are they out of business or they're just out of business with us?
They're out of business,
And did they give us a notification of that?
as of July 1,
When did they give us a notification?
about a week ago. So the unfortunate thing is that they have made that decision, essentially to dissolve their company. Wahatoya Information Technology Services is representative of the core group of their employees who had been providing the support services for the city. So that's, and from a continuity standpoint, by bringing this to council for your approval, they're well aware and have continuing to provide service, including trying to ensure that our new server is up and operational and installed appropriately. As that was a contract agreement originally with Ashkatech, so.
So they just left all their customers high and dry, even though they had contracts in place?
Certainly walked away from us and my understanding that they have done that with other entities. I am not privy to how many other clients they have, but
To me, this is similar to like the IGA agreement. I don't have access to the old agreement with Ashtech. I think this proposal we should have seen the old contract and have something to compare it to. And
I
that
think
makes it hard
went out to bid.
Yeah.
I would like it to go out to bid.
It's hard for us to approve something with only seeing one side of the story. I mean, that's really not fair. And I agree with putting it out to bid.
I mean, I think there were many issues that we had with Ashkatech in what their original agreement was, but what they were doing, what they were billing. So the last thing I want to do is get into another contract that's similar to what we were frustrated with in that original agreement. So, I mean, to not even get another bid from another IT. I mean, I just don't even understand that, just because, you know, that company broke up and now those core employees have formed a new business. To me, that just doesn't sound.
I think we should put it out to bid, at least try and see what happens. And I will say one thing that I do not think is what I wouldn't, even if we don't, I wouldn't accept it. I don't think it's very reasonable to give a 7-day notice. We as council only meet every 2 weeks. So a 7-day notice to discontinue service.
I thought we
That's-
had like a 30-day termination in the contract.
Companies going out of business, you can obviously have things in a contract to a certain point, but if they,
So I get that, but if you're saying their core employees are now part of this new company, I mean, I don't know if I trust that that's not gonna happen to us again.
It's in their contract, okay? It's in, excuse me, Miss Davis, it's in this new contract, 7 days.
Prior to the renewal date.
With automatic renewal also.
Yeah,
It's not any 7 days, it's 7 days prior to the renewal date.
yeah, but what does it say if you terminate it? 7 days, they'll give 7 days notice.
They have to let you know 7 days before the.
Who wrote this contract?
Yeah.
It's not locked.
this contract was initiated by WITS.
Are they even here tonight?
They are not here this evening.
So should we just,
So I think there's a motion and a second. So you should go ahead and take a vote, and if there's a direction to put it out for bid, then make that direction.
That'll work.
Any further discussion?
Yeah, I've got a question, usually when you bid apples to apples, peaches to peaches. Is there anything here that we're overlooking? When we put it out for contract?
Do you know how you bid the first one?
We did.
How'd you find the first IT guy?
Ashkatech.
Yeah.
That was prior to me.
They came to us.
You don't know if there's a bid package or
They
something?
were just referred to us. We didn't put that on.
Yeah, they came to us. We didn't do nothing. What I'm leading up to is what services are they really providing that? From one company to another? Is that in a contract somewhere or?
So the service agreement
Yeah.
pretty well spells out both the coverage, the support, and the services that they would present, as well as any recovery requirements. So
About insurance coverage, their liabilities on things, what concerns me here is there's a lot of things that are not public,
Confidential.
Yeah, confidential stuff
do they have, go ahead, I'm sorry for.
and
Yeah, I don't see where they included any kind of.
what kind of security do they?
So you didn't answer my question either. Who wrote this contract?
I stated that WITS presented the contract.
And did you review it?
Yeah, I did.
So is it common to have some type of insurance coverage in their liability insurance? Do we?
Yeah,
Should.
Depends on the type of agreement.
Well, IT is pretty big now, isn't
Yeah,
it?
that's a good thing.
Is.
It's a huge risk. And we have a lot of information in here.
Yeah, definitely. I'm not sure if we already had any information as to what kind of insurance coverage they have.
When was this company formed?
Yeah.
I mean, if you're telling me the other one went out of business July 1, their core employees are now part of this, like, that didn't happen in 7 days.
Pretty much, yes, it did.
That's on.
They put this together in an attempt to resolve any continuity issues that we might have as we moved forward. So
And what's the rate as far as what our contract with Ashkatech was? Because I see a lot of additional hourly, different things like that. I thought we had a flat rate with Ashkatech, even though we were never billed that.
That's why I'd like to see the old contract, so you can compare something.
We have to see.
Seen it, but I don't remember it.
Yeah.
So,
Any other discussion? We got to vote.
No.
but I'm just kind of disappointed that they're not even here. I mean, that's the other piece that, it would have probably gone a long way. Representative from our company would have been here and said, hey, we worked for them. This is what happened. This is where we're at. This is what we're trying to do for you. And instead they're a no-show.
I'd like to just put it up for bid.
I would too.
What do you do in the interim? Can you get some kind of, without IT? So,
Well, today is July 5th, and I just heard that they were it eliminated July first. So what
We
are
had
we doing
7
right
days
now?
notice And we've never heard.
I'm not quite sure how it would be any different than what's going on right now.
Right.
Is it?
No.
Okay,
Well, it would be now without some indication from the council that you would continue a contract with them, then I'm afraid that they have no obligation to see any further service and or support for us until such time as we could complete contracting process.
and this is the problem with 7 days notice and we're already in July 5th.
Yeah.
Rick's gonna get the chair.
They're out of business. I don't care. They're out of business. That's what I'm saying. But if we had, so you're saying we had 7 days notice. When did we receive that notice? And why weren't we at least given the advance notice that, hey, our IT's gone? We're gonna be left vulnerable. Instead, we wait till July 5th. Oh, here's a contract.
No.
Go along with it. And apparently Wahatoya thinks that we're just gonna nod our heads and agree to what their terms are. Like, we keep getting in these situations where we're not notified, we don't know, we're over a barrel, here's the agreement, you have to do it. And I just, that they're not even willing to work with us and say, let us give you a month and so that everybody can be on the same page and we can actually go out to bid and I don't know. It's just over and over.
Now I got a motion, a second on the floor. Approved. Are we ready to take a vote and then move on from there?
Yes.
Everybody agree? Roll call, please.
Mr. Martinez,
Yes.
Mayor Sani,
No.
Sykes,
No,
Mr. Beal,
Nope.
Ms. Mays,
No.
Mr. Eckert.
No.
So we probably should stay on this topic and have some kind of plan.
Yep.
We would need some specific direction as to how you would like us to proceed, please.
You don't have anything that you put out for bid the first time, huh? You wouldn't have it.
I have no idea.
No, we
Do
didn't.
you use what, do you agree with what's in this agreement? What they propose to supply you as adequate service?
Have you
So could
compared
you
it?
use that as a way to put it out for bid?
I think we could probably look at this and see if there's anything that was not identified from the Ashkatech agreement and put something together.
I'd like to see the architect agreement. I mean, that would be huge knowledge to have when you could decide this. And I wouldn't be against them bidding it, but I think. Or maybe even want to ask them to do interim until, if you like, but. I think it sounds like we're gonna bid it.
So I need specific instruction to allow me to do an interim. As if I were in their shoe, I would not provide interim services under the pretense of perhaps getting an agreement.
Well, they're the ones that split their company up too.
Yeah, that'd be our fault.
But regardless, you're holding hostage a new entity that
I'm not holding anybody hostage.
Oh, no.
and what if,
I disagree with that.
I'm not
Right,
quite sure
exactly.
where they think we are.
well, I had
Formed the entity on 5/30 of 2023.
So they knew for a month that this was coming.
That's when their entity was registered.
Yep.
So I don't know.
I think they were, as employees, cognizant of some issues coming up, but
Okay.
they were not notified.
Well,
Well-
so how
And when's
fair
it-
were they
So
to us?
it's
Yeah,
neither here nor there. What I'm asking is for specific instructions. As an administrator, do I have the authority to engage a 1-month contract with this entity to be able to provide continuity for the city until such time as we can put it out to bid?
or a maximum amount of what?
1 month.
Yeah, but how much for a month? 2,700? That's what they.
Architect.
What's
Well, I would
Leave
say,
paying them $2,800 a month. Well, we're no longer.
Yeah, I would.
That was
say
our
I-
last.
Gay, would we agree to, if they would honor or follow the Ashkatech contract that we have now, which would actually give them a little bit more money than what they are proposing us to do? Would that be agreeable? Just continue the Ashkatech?
just something specific. That's
Okay,
all I'm
so
asking.
I would,
They-
For how long?
They're willing to bid and they're willing to bid on they're allowed to bid on the next, whenever you put
Yeah.
something up for bid.
we would like to have their bid.
I'd like to see how much they do for the bid. $800 is a lot of money.
Well, it's in there. It's
Yeah,
also.
I know.
But that's
You
what
get all that.
So I make a motion that administrator contact the IT of Wahatoya and ask if they would continue the services provided under Ashkatech agreement at the rate that Ashkatech charges for up to 2 months.
In 60 days.
Then we will maybe get a request for proposals out right away. Sure.
Well, yeah, we need to be looking
Yeah.
before it ends. I will be in the same.
Your
boat.
earliest convenience, Ms. Davis.
How long to put out an RFP, you think?
I'll just have to look at it.
I think you can use their items they listed. I mean, give you something to go by.
Well, yeah, Ashkatech is compare.
Okay, got it.
And it should include insurance. I mean, we kind of forgot that little piece of it.
And business, if they have business license, all of the normal requirements.
I mean, they have to have some kind of insurance.
You would
And
think.
the dietitian I use has
Should at least have
liability
some kind of
insurance.
general liability, yeah. I got a motion on the floor, Jack, from Jackie Sykes to allow administration to try to extend the contract of Ashutech or these new people, whoever.
Well, it would
Whoever
go
goes.
on for 60 days.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Good, second by Fred Ecker. Any further discussion?
Yeah, she knows, put it out for bid.
What an RFP is.
I did put
Yeah.
it in a motion.
If we don't, it won't happen.
You want to reiterate your motion?
You got
Have
it.
it.
You got it? Do the RFP and try to get
Yes.
extended, okay. Roll call, please.
Ms. Mays,
Yes.
Ms. Sykes,
Yes.
Mr. Eckert,
Yes.
Mr. Beal,
Yes.
Mayor Bernani,
Yes.
Mr. Martinez.
And Miss Davis, could we try to ask for a 30-day notice of termination? Could we ask if that be put in the,
We can put it in the RFP.
please? That 7 days is hard.
Not enough,
30 is barely enough. 30 is barely enough for my team.
right?
Whatever is.
Well, if you want 60, we can put whatever you want in.
Yeah.
More than 7.
However, if they just evaporate, you're hard pressed as to do anything about it. I mean, that's the reality, but.
You can at least ask, yeah.
You can ask.
Thank you.
Next up, item number 7 under new business, consideration of funding request for rural philanthropy days. We were handed a handout, plus it's on an enclosure.
Funding request, I guess, I don't know.
Yeah, I didn't understand what the dollar amount. was.
5,000 is how I wrote it.
So for simplification, the original information that they sent was an example of, gave some information as to what Philanthropy Days is. Like
follow-up conversation on Monday with the individual who's representing this area. She provided me this specific letter as well as a pie chart and some information on sponsorship opportunities. At this juncture, one of the recommendations perhaps that the administration would make is that the council consider a donation of $500 to support the efforts of rural philanthropy on behalf of our community, our governmental entities and our nonprofits who utilize this particular event for identifying additional funding resources for programs and things specific to our community.
I'll make a motion that we donate $500 to Rural Philanthropy Days.
Second.
I got a motion and second, motion by Don Martinez, second by Jackie Sykes. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Martinez,
Yes.
Mr. Eckert,
Yes.
Ms. Mays,
Yes.
Ms. Sykes,
Yes.
Mr. Gino,
Yes.
Ms. Downey.
Yes. Okay, item number 8, consideration of insurance claim for 336 East Sixth Street.
So yeah, unfortunately, I noticed in looking at our agenda, it was also missing enclosures, and apology for that oversight because obviously there was a volume of enclosures to go with this. As a background information, this was a property on East Sixth Street that on June 12th, they had the unfortunate experience of having sewer back up into their property. It was as a result of an effort by our staff and our crew to remediate a blocked sewer line. Process had been utilized before. Not obviously in this case, it was not without some repercussions. We've done a substantial amount of work. Unfortunately, this is one of our areas in our community from a sewer problem that it used to be a problem. We've done some line replacement. We've done some different things and it kind of moves downstream every time we fix something that keeps moving. What you have in front of you is a resolution from the insurance company. Conversation with the mayor as well as the property owner. I would concede that there's some liability on behalf of the city. It's the city council's purview to identify what that liability might be. So included with this packet are some cost estimates from the property owner. And I believe Ms. Candelario is here this evening if we want to, if you have additional questions that you would like to pose to her. But there's a cleanup invoice.
Sarsa denied the claim?
Yes. Which is the cover sheet.
Based on, I mean, I know they've paid other claims in the past.
They have paid other claims. Their contention is that based upon the information that we provided on the efforts that had been engaged in this particular situation, that we had attempted to maintain the line, that we had done our due diligence when we replaced part of the line. And so they denied the claim.
Overtax.
So do you want to explain to us what happened?
So the crew on staff, it was a Saturday afternoon, got the call because of a blocked sewer. They took the back truck down and backed the manhole. And then they proceeded to try to flush line, flush the line, which is a process that occurs. And in that process, then the pressure hit the blockage. And it was a substantial enough blockage that it forced its way up the main into the property, into the home itself. So some question as to the type of connection, sewer main, their service line into the main, what that connection looks like, may be suspect. However, the result of it was that the pressure from the back truck forced water up into the home through the service line and the fixtures.
I've done some research on this. We've had a conversation. I believe if you're gonna use high water pressure to clear out a line, you do it from the dry side. Gerald and them went from the wet side, the plug side. So every plumber, sewer guy I know says you don't do it that way. You come from the dry side. Go ahead.
Good question. So what level of training is involved to operate a back truck? And do you have a log sheet of that, or do you keep track of how they're trained or when they're trained?
Yes, ma'am, we do have a log. They were checked out on that upon the acquisition of the unit, and they have utilized other back trucks prior to.
So
That's not
great on this one.
continue to be scheduled for 2 weeks from now.
So how much money is it gonna take to put this right?
The current invoicing that we have
Andy, can you answer that question?
is as
Well, wait a minute.
invoices in.
One at a time.
I just want to know, like, whose home is it and who lives there?
It's my home.
Okay,
The owner and Kaylee and her sister Destiny were renting from us.
thank you.
You're welcome.
That just helps me. Thank you.
So the invoices that you have attached to this is 14,508.22 total,
So
I think, unless I'm mistaken. 3524,
are there any photographs?
Yes.
5,000.
We actually do have photographs. We
Okay.
emailed them, both Kaylee and I have
1872.98.
plenty of photographs of. Technically, sewer came up from the both bathrooms, because the home has 2 bathrooms. So sewer came up from both bathrooms, went down into the basement, went through 3 bedrooms, the hallway, and all the way into the bathroom. And destroying.
I'd like to make a motion that we pay $14,508.22.
Did you amend that number? Is 14,000 right?
14,
I thought you said 18. Okay.
14,508.22.
22.
You agree?
That's acceptable.
Is that including?
That's yours too.
That's including
Yes.
their property, I mean.
That's
18 we have in front of us. I don't.
1872.98 for personal property.
Goes on top of the 14 or no?
It's included in the.
14 includes the 18. So you gotta give her, we're gonna only write one if this passes. It hasn't passed yet.
Yes, no, I'm okay with it. My husband is well okay with it, only because honestly, if we were to bring in a crew to do the work, it would probably be a lot more to replace the floorings, and we technically did that ourselves. So we went out and we purchased the flooring and we did all the work ourselves. You know, he had a couple of guys come in and help him.
Did you have a city employee tell you that it was done wrong? And did he call the people that dried it up? City employee.
Yes.
So I guess I'm really concerned, and I agree that the citizens absolutely need to be taken care of. But I,
Disappointed in our answer.
okay, but there's no information. Am I missing something? That there is no information of what was given to Sursa? There's a file that is filled out. There's a claim form that's filled out and all of the information, and I don't see it in this packet. So I'm hesitant to say I am going to agree to pay this if I don't know what the claim was stated in the claim and why Sursa denied it. I've been through this personally. I've been through it myself. And so I know some documentation is not
As have I.
presented properly. So, yeah, go ahead.
Am I good to go then? Sorry, I didn't mean to keep interrupting.
No, yeah, I want to know where the claim is. Why are we expected to commit the city to $18,000?
14,000.
Well, no,
1,800 was the personal that was
Oh,
included in it.
Okay. Whatever it is, why are we sitting here voting to expend this when we don't know what the claim said? Why Sursa denied it? Ms. Davis?
Okay, I was just waiting.
Mhm.
Interrupt. So the claim that is submitted to Sursa is a one-page document that basically says what happened.
Mhm.
No,
Right.
the property owner, address, yada, yada, yada.
Mhm.
The ensuing documents that you submit were the same documents that you have here, which are the information from the property owner. What's missing is a map and a summary sheet of where we were with that particular property in that alley. That was also included with the claim, and it was included with this, but didn't get copies made too. So the conversations, Mr. Mayor Vazani and I participated in a conference call with Sursa, at which point our one of our water individuals, personnel, also participated. And whether it's correct or not, Sursa has identified that attempts were made to mediate the situation and had a history of remediating that particular location in that sewer line. So
I don't agree with Sursa's answer.
No, I don't need.
that's why we're here.
Yeah.
But correct me if I'm wrong, if I missed.
No, that's not what she said. He
Can we not,
could have had a backflow preventer, which nobody has one. No.
it's an insurance claim. Can we not appeal it?
Yes, we can.
Kaylee? Kaylee?
So we both spoke to the insurance agent, who took our statements, and she said that the information she was waiting on wasn't provided from the city yet. So
When was that?
I spoke to her probably a week after the incident, and she spoke to her following week. I spoke to her probably about a week ago to ask her what the outcome was, what I was waiting for. And in her words were, I need extra documents, so is there anything else I can help you with? Yeah, so I'm not sure if the city has to provide their statement.
We did.
We did it on the phone. We had her on the phone. And we told her everything I learned from you guys. That's why I disagree with Sursa. Her answer was, you could have had a backflow preventer and the city maintained alignment like they're supposed to. Both, I did wrong.
Very unprofessional.
Yeah.
Because like I said, she pretty much was just like, is there anything else I can help you with? And it's like, just push it underneath the rug and let's go out to your house and.
It's pretty obvious she just ain't gonna pay. That's what. she comes down to.
So the motion on the floor?
Wait, is there?
Yeah, I guess my only comment is I have not been involved in this. I didn't speak to Sursa. This is, my review of this, which was included in the packet on Friday. I mean, just for your information, governments are immune from tortious conduct, which includes an act like this. So I guess I'm just extrapolating because I haven't spoken to her, but from this notice, she is saying that the city is not liable because the city would only be liable if they were, her determination was the town had appropriately maintained these lines and dealt with this issue. So that's just my, background information on this and as to why she possibly made that decision. So I understand, the city is just, offering a good neighbor contribution to kind of rectify the situation just voluntarily. I guess my only question is, did the property owner file an insurance claim on their end?
I did, and as far as the insurance on my home, they're not liable for flooding due to the negligence of.
Yeah, they won't pay
the
it.
city.
No.
So they're pretty much, you either get look into a different insurance or something that's gonna take care of that. But as far as my personal insurance for the house, it wasn't gonna happen.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we don't have documentation of that claim either, so. If the city wants to voluntarily, that's.
And where are we paying for this, I guess is my next question.
Where's the money at?
That would come from the sewer fund.
So help me understand all this then. Why, if you're saying, and Cirsa is saying, that's why I don't know what we're making these decisions on. Why would we pay? And I don't want you guys I don't want to offend you. I'm trying to explore to get the answers. Why would we pay if you were saying that and how does Cirsa know that there's been repeated repairs on these lines?
Because the document that I provided, we pulled the service records for that particular section of the sewer line. On a map, not only did we provide that documentation, but on a map, literally mapped it out so that you could see the issues that have continued for the last 3 months on this particular line. So, and when it necessitated placing lines and et cetera, et cetera. So we worked through that. So I will be the one that sits here and says that, yes, our crews were certainly liable because we'd had the conversations. They knew the risks with high pressure. Unfortunately, it occurred. They had several other opportunities to use the truck where they were successful in this method from upstream with no other concerns. This is just one of those things. So are we, in my opinion, is there some recourse? I would say for the property owner, I would say yes. Is it in total? That's not for me to say, but.
So can you tell me, based on what you just said, have you given direction to them to handle the situation, that situation?
Differently? Yes.
Differently. You have.
Yes.
Then I think that we have to pay them.
Additional training scheduled.
So we don't want any more of these.
Right.
Better not have no more.
This. We will continue with our processes to try to identify these problem areas and to remediate them. However,
Question that hasn't been addressed, I don't think, is this a main sewer line or is it, the main is what's been plugged up?
it's, well, by definition,
Down the alley.
it's an alley service line
No, right.
that
But
was,
what part of it's being plugged? Is it in that main or is it to the service line from the property?
the main.
Main down 6th Street alley because it's.
Jesus Christ, how can you say it's their problem? If it's not their problem, we did it.
Well,
One thing I do want to say, and I do want you guys to be aware that we had no sewer problem in that house. We haven't had sewer problem. I've been on that block for probably 7 years, so we've never had problem. My house personally, yes, we had a sewer problem. We fixed it because it was in our yard. But honestly, my husband he works pipeline. That's what he does for a living. And he even said they might want to reconsider going through that alley and fixing the whole pipeline if they're going to continue having problems like this. Because it's not, I know the neighbor next to me has been having problems. Like I said, thankfully I haven't, but that house itself on 336 never had a sewer backup. So, I mean, I'm not here to try to get anything for free. You know, it happened. Unfortunately, they were out of a home for a month, you know, and we're just kind of here just to, you know, get it to sit right.
Well, it's not your fault.
And
Yeah.
Not your fault.
My fault, really.
Got any options?
no, we don't.
A bunch of them.
Because of the flood.
Bad of a flood, yeah.
Yep. So it's probably something we should encourage people again to do, just.
Well, I checked for several plumbers and they said if you wanna go up your line either way, that they don't recommend putting in a backflow preventer.
And my husband looked at that as well, because he was looking into that. A matter of fact, the day it happened, he was on there looking into that, and we ordered them because we were gonna put them in at both of our houses, and he started looking into it, and he even told me it's not a good idea.
You can't rot it with that.
Exactly.
No, you
That's
can't.
exactly,
But you put access in, so what George does, if he puts an access on either side so that he can get through it, he also recommends the one that you can lift up so that you can go both ways.
Right, but if,
Not expensive.
if, no, I realize that, but what if the
Okay,
city?
we come back to if, yeah,
yeah.
Question,
Bottom line was, there was not one on this property.
any other property affected? Or was it just this one property?
just this one property.
All the pressure went up their line for some reason, whatever they get.
And the only thing I did know was that there was another gentleman who said it went into his yard on the other side. And through their cleanup, but as far as into the house, I believe ours was the only one.
Leave the lid loose on your cleanup, so it comes out there.
50822.
Yes.
So is this triple C complete carpet care and restoration? Did you do that or is this only an estimate?
No, it was done.
It
It's an
was done.
invoice.
Okay,
Done.
yeah, okay,
That was done that day.
okay, yeah, okay.
I didn't call them, not
City
the
employee.
old one.
Oh, okay.
The supervisor on duty that Saturday
Yeah.
was the one who made the call.
Yeah.
And asked them to come out and clean up this sewer, because I was like, I'm not gonna have this sewage sitting in my house.
And it came from Colorado Springs.
The
Okay.
flooring is wood. The wood floor, the flooring was actual wood, and you know, it was already gonna cause damage. And
Oh, well, you've got to get that cleaned up. Okay.
So I got a motion by Don Martinez to pay the 14,508. Did I get a second? Second by Jackie Sykes. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Yes.
Mr. Martinez,
Yes.
Mayor Vitani,
Yeah.
Trevino,
Yes.
Riker,
Yes.
Yeah.
This is me.
All it was.
Yeah, we are lucky,
Very lucky, that's all it was.
very lucky.
Let's go backwards all the time now. Anyway, all right, next, mayor and city council comments, directions and actions. I would like to, we have no department heads. We need to get something figured out. Yeah, he's got too much to do. I'd like to set up some kind of meeting next week, workshop.
want to do a work session?
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
And so, yeah, I'll just relay to council that in terms of hiring a department head, I know that, well, just since I've been here, I've heard talk that there's, you know, a need to hire department heads in various departments. It's talked about at meetings, but I think there might be a need to have a work session on this. Right now, we don't have, you know, a proposal or a contract for us to go into executive session to discuss about this particular topic. But I think that it's a good topic that should be discussed at a work session amongst council if you feel that's appropriate. If there is a specific contract or proposal for one of these positions, we can certainly discuss negotiations for that in an executive session. Right now, I don't think it's, sort of like right for us to discuss today. If there is a project, we can go into executive session at that time. But it sounds like, council maybe needs to have some work sessions to discuss some of these issues and then to bring these things onto the agenda so that there can be some council action taken on them. I can't make your policy for you, and I can't, I can try and give you ideas on how to organize and how to.
No, but we need a work session and we need to, I don't care how we figure it out. We gotta pay more. We gotta hire somebody we don't like. I don't know what the answer is. Let's have a work session, figure out what we're gonna do. I'm getting people calling me all the time. We gotta.
We can't go
There
online.
is a job posted, am I right?
So the water sewer supervisor,
Mhm.
Those used to be separate, but now they're together.
water sewer supervisor is together,
Okay.
was advertised in the Warp in a World for 6 weeks, in the Trinidad paper for 3 weeks, in the Pueblo Chieftain for 2 weeks. Has been and still is on the Colorado Rural Water website, still on the workforce website. It's posted in the office on the whiteboard and on the city community board.
And you've had no interest whatsoever?
Nada. The job description, the salary range is $50,000 to $65,000. We've started some pay studies. That's not based upon the job. That's not out of the realm of most communities, similar size. When you talk to multiple entities and Colorado Rural Water, who's working with us on our rate study and other opportunities, training, and they're also supervising our apprentice programs. That's why we have the apprentice program. It's trying to identify our own personnel and grow within. There's just not people out there that have the qualifications that necessarily want to move.
Yeah, but you can't have an apprentice program without having a head.
You gotta have somebody running it.
The apprentice program is overseen by
Well, that way,
ORCs,
full time.
both the water treatment plant operator.
Yeah. Anyway, we gotta get it fixed. We can't go.
You have to get it fixed.
But what more is there? If there's already a job posting, there's already a salary, I don't know what else.
I'm open to any suggestions,
That's what I'm saying. I don't know if we need a work session on it.
I would like to have a work session because I would like to be honest with you, I'd like to have an executive session, and I sent an email to you why I think it is that we are putting ourselves at risk. These people were here. There's another one that is huge, and I don't think it's something that needs to be discussed. And I think we as a council have to come together and make a decision of how we are going to operate that is not going to continue to put us in a risk of lawsuit. That is what I believe that we need to do. If Ms. Davis can't hire somebody, then what are we going to do? We have to do something because they continue to happen, and I'm not going to sit here and allow it. I'm not going to be part of ignoring a situation that is continuing to grow.
Sure, it sounds like to me the solution is to hire somebody, and I'm not sure if that is an appropriate topic for executive session.
Well, but what's going on, what the issues that are being created, I don't know that we want to discuss in public, but if you think we do, we'll lay it out there.
I think that.
We do.
Understand.
I don't think we want to discuss everything.
It's your call.
Right, and I think I understand this, but I'm not sure if that is an actual topic unless there's a lawsuit or, maybe there is more and I just don't have the full context.
Yeah.
Well, it's whatever, but I think we as a council have a responsibility to serve the citizens, and it's not happening. It's not happening in an appropriate manner.
Right, so I think there needs to be some council direction to make a hiring decision happen, and I can't do that for you. So if that direction is raising the salary or offering other incentives.
Well, yeah, that's why we need to have a work session to
So we can
discuss.
figure out.
What are we gonna do? What are our options? I don't know what our options are, but our options are not continue to operate the way we are, in my opinion.
Or yeah, and I think a work session is appropriate.
And who wants to come can come, right? If we have a quorum.
Yeah, well.
Yeah.
um,
You can't
With the
take
work
any,
session.
Get a quorum for a work session.
Action.
you can't take any action.
Okay, well, then we can, okay, all right, okay.
Yeah, but we just have to notice it if there's 3 or more, so.
So,
Yeah, publish it in case
Yeah,
you have too many.
Sure.
right, you have to notice it. So then is there something specific that you would like us to provide for this work session?
Well, first of all, I have no idea how many people we even employ. I don't know how many people are in the departments. I don't know what
So
flexibility.
Is this works, so maybe we should back up here.
Mhm.
I'm hearing a work session for a water sewer supervisor. Are
That's
you
the
now,
number one priority.
are you now wanting a work session on a much broader topic?
Okay,
Staffing in general.
yeah, staffing in
You
general.
said you're trying to grow within all of this stuff. So to me, it's a broad discussion, Miss Davis. If I don't even know how many people you have in the sewer department and I don't know if we have anybody that's capable of being trained, how close they are to being able to serve it. I have no idea what's going on in the department, but I know we're having a lot of problems.
So I'm gonna back up here and ask the question one more time. Is there something specific that you would like for us to prepare for your work session?
I don't think it would hurt us to have an employee chart, how many employees we have and if there's 2 in water and sewer. I don't have one, how many in gas? Do they work back and forth? I mean,
Well, even just like an organizational chart.
yeah, right. So that we could have an idea. I don't have any idea.
Is your advertisement for the position on city website? We can see it easily. Okay, I can get it there. I didn't see it. I looked for the building inspector one. It's not on there, or it wasn't.
I know Mr. Colander does it, but
I mean, that's another position.
Yeah, but it wasn't on there. Where is it advertised at?
again, it was on the website and we had advertised in both Trinidad and the Wharf and a World, so I do have an applicant for that.
So on our website, under employment opportunities, it has employment openings, has parks and maintenance worker, which in your report, you said we were fully staffed, water sewer technician, and water sewer supervisor. But there's nothing listed on code enforcement. So is this not updated?
Or building inspector?
Or building inspector?
So it's not,
That's what I meant.
it's a building inspector, it's not a code enforcement. So I am holding and have tentatively offered the position of building inspector.
Let's set it.
Job's not even posted.
Is everybody in favor of setting the work session date?
Yes,
I'd like to do it right away.
I would too.
Monday? Can we do Monday?
No,
What?
you move till if it, well, I won't say no. Let me put it this way. It depends on how much information y'all think you need. Because I have a URA and a P and Z meeting that I have to prepare for as well. That has to be out by Friday, so.
Well, I don't think we need just an employee chart.
It shouldn't be that much.
We can get your ad.
Asking the questions.
Yeah, we can
Yeah.
get the ads off the side.
Okay.
Let's set it. What time's good for everybody?
Anytime.
Monday. Dawn? Veronica, what time of the day is,
Probably
it don't
six.
matter to me. Huh?
Probably 6.
5 or 6? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I could probably, yeah. I don't know, can you do 5?
Six would be probably better.
6 would probably be better.
Do six.
Yeah,
Six.
yeah, I'm good.
Probably better. Six is good. 6, good for you, Veronica?
6 months.
I'm good.
Let's do Monday at 6.
Can't keep going on and letting it roll.
And this is strictly a work session.
Yes. But I understood unless we come up with a candidate, then we can make the executive session if I give you 24 hours notice.
But we can't come up with a candidate. We don't have that authority, do we?
Can't we?
Well, if you had a proposal for some kind of independent contractor, that's a different discussion. If it's just an employee application, then that just goes through the city.
But council doesn't have the authority to hire employees.
That's correct.
But we do contractors.
All right, let's do.
Okay, let's
You do the work
get up
session.
to bed. So again,
Right.
you know, if you're gonna, contractor, then you need to.
Well, let's decide on,
We'll decide Monday.
If we don't get nobody who wants it, we gotta go somewhere else.
Let's just do a work session on Monday and figure it out.
Yeah,
Oh. We don't need a motion a second, do we?
no.
Monday at
Just,
6.
just.
Everybody in favor?
Aye,
Aye. Opposed? Hearing none. Monday at 6.
okay,
Our work session on water sewer supervisor.
and
Who
staffing.
did who did the motion and the second on that, just so I can.
Don and Jackie,
John Martinez, second by Jackie.
right, Don?
Sure.
That's what you're.
That's been the
that's what
pattern
you
tonight.
do.
Just trying to move things along.
Yeah, that's right.
Any city council comments?
I'd like to make,
Brett?
yeah, I'd like to take a moment of silence for a past mayor that I worked under 20 years ago, Mayor Brow. He passed away
Oh, I got
2 weeks ago. And it was my privilege and to have worked with him and under him. So we could just honor him for a couple or a little bit.
Thank you, Fred.
Thank you, Fred.
Thank you, Fred.
Anything else? Council?
I have one quick question.
Go ahead, Nick.
Hey, did we ever get the gauges on Wahatoya and Dagger
Monday,
last Monday?
no, it will be Monday.
I've heard that once. Can you give us,
Few other things.
can you give us a holler when you get them installed?
I'll take pictures for you.
That'll work better.
Materials are, we had to order pipe, it'll be in tomorrow.
Okay,
Anything else?
nope. Motion to adjourn. Second.
Got a motion by Don Martinez, second by Nick the Hill. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
I should.